and guess what I just realized? I didn't turn on the lights. So, if you're watching this podcast, you're getting a behind the scenes view because I really like the intro that we just did, and I'm not going to reshoot that. So, you're going to notice a light difference in just a second.
Because we're not perfect.
You're right, because we are not perfect. Welcome to The Balancing Act with Team Brooks. My name is Chris.
And I am Ashanti.
And we are Team Brooks, of course. So in our podcast, we're going to discuss family-related topics through a simple lens of faith, while also providing resources that every family can use to live a healthy and well-balanced lifestyle. So what's our show about?
Anything family-related.
While trying to keep it Christian. Tell you a little bit about myself. I'm from Tennessee. I am married, of course. I have two beautiful girls. One is 4 and one is 2 years old. Both are with this lovely lady right here.
I am originally from Southern California, and I moved to the wonderful state of Tennessee, where I met this lovely man right here. And shortly after I moved here, we got married and started our life together. And we have 2 wonderful daughters that we love dearly.
How do we get to do a podcast? What made us decide to do this? Glutton for punishment?
Well, we have 2 children. We do also own a daycare center in Nashville. And through that experience, just seeing, different families in our own families, it just really made us realize that there are a lot of things that we go through as parents that other people are experiencing as well. And the thought was, well, why not share some of the experiences that we've had, because we're not alone in this.
You're right. And guess what I just realized? I didn't turn on the lights. So if you're watching this podcast, you're getting a behind the scenes view because I really like the intro that we just did, and I'm not going to reshoot that. So you're going to notice a light difference in just a second.
Because we're not perfect.
You're right, because we are not perfect. All right, now you probably notice a little bit of lighting difference now that we have gotten the lighting on.
Yay!
I'll let you decide if that stays in there or not. All right, so as Ashanti said, we own a daycare in Nashville and everything, and we've seen a lot. But even more so than that, we've seen a lot just as parents.
Oh yeah.
We've only been parents for 4 years, but man, there's been a lot in those 4 years.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And I guess it's also, we've been married for 7 years, known each other for 8. Mm-hmm. So we won't talk about our ages, but I will say, I put it like this: we won't talk about our ages, but we didn't get married in our 20s. So we both had pretty established careers in different fields and so forth before we met each other. We were pretty established, and we decided to bring those worlds together. And it's been magic ever since.
It definitely has. Oh, yeah.
Awesome. I like it. I like that. I like the way you said, oh, yeah. Kind of give me a little bit chill a little bit. Might need to end the podcast. No, I'm just joking. As you can see, we like to have fun. We hope to have fun in the podcast. We hope you will have fun with us. We know that every marriage, every family has their struggles. Everybody goes through something. I heard somebody talking today on IG talking about there's good and bad everywhere, and what you focus on is what you get more of. And I feel like we do a pretty good job of focusing on the positive.
Yes, we do. We really try to create a positive environment for our daughters. We try to incorporate fun, but we don't shy away from disciplining them as well. We do feel like it's important to have a good balance, and also, to also start incorporating faith with them at a young age.
Yeah, if you've seen any of our IGs, not that many people have seen them, hopefully more people will start following us on IG, but we do incorporate like nighttime, I don't want to say rituals.
Routine.
Yeah, we do incorporate nighttime routines with our children that incorporate faith and so forth, and teach them just the basics of faith. But we also want them to come to an understanding of faith on their own, much like we did. I don't feel like our parents pushed it on us too much. They just presented their faith to us, and they kind of let us make our own decisions. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They didn't force it on us. They exposed us to faith, and then when we wanted to give our life to the Lord, that's when we decided to do so. Agreed.
And guess what? We're not going to force our faith on you. That's not our goal. Our goal is to really, as we said in the beginning, we try to look at family through a simple lens of faith. Of course, we believe in Jesus Christ. We believe He is the way. He is the only way to be saved. I don't shy away from that ever. But again, our goal is not to beat you over the head with our faith or say you must do this.
We're not going to force you to memorize scriptures each week.
We're not going to force ourselves to memorize scriptures each week.
And some people like to do that, and that's fine. We're not judging anybody. We're just saying, that's not what we intend to do with our show. And also, I just want to emphasize that, sometimes when people see someone and they incorporate faith into their life, they think that person is trying to say that they're living the perfect life or that they're perfect. We are not perfect. We're not trying to claim that we are perfect. We're just sharing our own personal experiences with all of you and hoping that some of you can relate to us.
Like she said, we try to live the best we can. We try to do it the best we can. We're not perfect. And we know that a lot of times, I don't know about you, but when I looked at my parents, I thought my mom was perfect growing up. Everything she did, I thought it was perfect. And it wasn't because she was perfect. It was because that was my touchstone. That was my example. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't until I became probably 19, 20 that I saw the flaws, that I saw she wasn't perfect. And I remember, I won't say it rocked me to my core, but it shook me a little bit. It shook me a little bit to see that my mom wasn't perfect. But then as I got older and I started having children of my own, it lended itself to helping me become a more comfortable parent in knowing that no matter what, even through the mistakes that I'm going to make or that I have made, my children are going to be okay. Would you agree?
I do agree with you on that.
Did your parents make any mistakes growing up?
Are you watching, Mom and Dad?
You don't have to call them out. You don't have to say what the mistakes were. You can just say if they made mistakes or not.
I mean, no one's perfect, so.
That was a very political answer. Wow. Wow. Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Bowles, if you were watching this, you raised your daughter right. She didn't throw y'all under a bus at all. So, but as you see, again, we want to have fun. We're going to talk about different topics, like Ashanti said. We're going to talk about discipline. We're going to talk about growth. We're going to talk about all those things that as parents that we face, the struggles, the doubts, the questions, and so forth. We're on this journey together. Would you say? I mean, we have a 4-year-old. We haven't even hit the preteen years. We haven't hit the teen years yet. All those are still to come, and hopefully we'll have a podcast then. So as we're pulling out our hair, dealing with preteens and so forth, that you can help us through those moments.
Yeah, I mean, we're excited about the show, and we hope that we can really bring something to you all that will help you, or make a difference in your life. Whether it's a tip that we give, um, maybe just an experience that we share that gives you hope for your current experience. So we really are thrilled about the show, and we're so glad that you came and joined us here today.
Yeah. So what's next?
What's next?
So we talked a little bit about why we're doing the show. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about our journey as parents so far. What do you feel like in the 4 years that we've been parents? What do you feel like is the most difficult lesson you've had to learn?
Most difficult lesson? I don't know if I would say the most difficult lesson, but the biggest thing that I've really learned is that it only takes a second for a child to do something. If I turn my back for a second, whether, if I'm making a meal or cooking something, within a matter of seconds, my child can do something that could change our lives forever. Kids are so curious at this age. They're always doing things and getting into stuff. And, I just always have to make sure that I keep my eyes on them constantly to ensure their safety. And the other biggest thing is patience. Patience and understanding that everything in this world at this age for them is new and intriguing. So the questions that they're asking all the time, even though sometimes you're you're wearing me down with all these questions, I just have to, have to understand why this, why that. I have to understand it's like a whole new world for them. And our job as parents is to teach them and explain to them this whole new world. So sometimes I have to bring myself back for a moment and take a step back and think, okay, they're asking me all these questions because this is a new and exciting world to them. And I've been in this world for however many years. So these things aren't new to me, but it's new to them. So just taking, enjoying those moments with them and just, taking the time to explain things. But really, patience is a big thing because, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, they're gonna test your patience constantly. And in terms of that, even if I've had a long day, and I'm tired, and sometimes you have moments where you just kind of just want to lay down and relax. Just being patient with them in terms of the questions that they have or the different needs that they have, and the crying and the tantrums, and just stepping back and just taking a deep breath sometimes.
Very true. Very true. I know, especially with our 4-year-old, because our 4-year-old has a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Our 4-year-old has a lot of energy. But I know there are times, like you said, you're tired and she is just ready to go. She's just asking, why this, mommy that, daddy this, and she and so forth. And it's just you're right. You have to take a moment and understand where they are, and understand that again, it's the nature of their curiosity. They're learning so much. Children learn more in the first 5 years of their life than they're going to learn the rest of their life. And so nurturing that is so crucial to their growing. So what do you do when you don't have the patience? When you mess up? And maybe the patience just wasn't there for that day.
Well, in those moments where I don't have patience, or I lose my patience, and I realize it, I just have to own it. And owning that are times where I do apologize and say, hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I got upset with you. Mommy didn't mean it. And just apologize and own it. And it's beneficial for the child in that moment to own it and apologize, but you're also showing them that, it's okay to make mistakes and how to own up to your mistakes.
I agree. That's one thing, we were talking about that earlier, that I'm trying to be more understanding of our 4-year-old and who she is as a person. Because, in terms of just the energy, we're different in that way. Even as a child, I was kind of laid back. I wasn't everywhere. I was more like our youngest child.
Oh yeah.
Still more like our youngest child. But, and so sometimes it takes a lot for me to understand her. And so, and it is kind of like we were talking, is like, I don't want to squash that spirit in her. I don't want to squash that curiosity and that excitement about life that she has. But I feel like sometimes I've been impatient with her and been impatient with who she is. And I won't say I've lashed out, but, like most parents, I've raised my voice a time or two, because she just had gotten to that last, she gotten in that last nerve and she was jumping all on it. and or even more so, a better example is when she has done something out of the blue that has caught me off guard, especially for her safety. Those are the ones that get me, that I probably raise my voice the most on. And it's not that I'm raising my voice to be mad at her or to scold her, but sometimes I raise my voice out of getting her to stop immediately because I don't want her to do more damage or to do something that she could damage herself, such as when she's standing on a chair and I raise my voice for her to get down. And the thing that I realized in those moments, that number one, I'm doing more harm than good. Because a lot of times if she's doing something dangerous and I raise my voice and startle her, I could cause her to stumble. I could cause her to do something, to cause her pain. And so I'm learning that aspect of learning to be patient, be calm, and as we discussed, walk over there and say, honey, we don't do this because you can hurt yourself. And then inside, I'm jumping up and down for her to get down, or for her to put that down, or put whatever she has, or don't touch that stove. And now if she's touching the stove, I am going to scream out, don't touch the stove, because hopefully I will. Hopefully I will.
Yeah, we're not going to wait on that one.
Yeah, we're not going to wait for you to walk over and she doesn't touch the stove.
Immediately.
But if it's something that, I think, there was one time, an example that comes to mind, there was one time that she had grabbed a glass off the counter. She had grabbed like a cup off the counter. And my initial gut reaction was to yell, don't touch that, because I'm thinking she could drop it and cut herself. But by the grace of God, I was calm, like the spirit, like I don't know if the spirit came over me or whatever, but I calmly thought to myself in like a split second, if I yell, I could start her and then she'll stop it. So I walked over to her and I said, and I took it out of her hand. I said, honey, we don't do that. I didn't say honey.
I was about to say, what you say, honey?
That's just for podcast people. I don't say honey. I actually call her Little B. So I said, hey, Little B, we can't do that. I said we can't do that. If you drop this glass, it's gonna hurt, and you could cut yourself. You laughing at me because I said honey. That's your word. I know. I don't know why I said honey. Am I putting on airs?
I think you might be a little bit. I'm like, honey, I've never heard him say that.
I'm putting on airs. See, she busted me out on the first podcast. Okay.
You busted yourself out, but I went with it. You
laughing at me. You were going with me. So I said, Little B, I said, please give me the glass. Don't mess with that. I think she was maybe 2 at the time. Our girl was really tall. She could reach on top of the counter and get glasses off the counter at 2 years old. But I said, please give me that. You can hurt yourself and so forth. But it's just moments like that where I realized raising my voice was not doing good. Mm-hmm. And I realized from different things that 9 times out of 10, raising my voice is not the right answer. It's not going to get the reaction I deserve. Going back to what we talked about with the daycare, I tell our daycare workers all the time, and I talk to our director all the time about making sure our daycare workers do not raise their voice at children. Children do not understand raising your voice. They do not understand that. To them, it's just you're talking loudly. They don't understand that. They don't understand that they're in trouble unless somebody has conditioned them to, as I heard one person said, unless somebody has conditioned them to understand that at this level, that's the final straw. We talked about that one guy I listened to, and I wish I could remember his name. I have to give him credit on another episode, but we talked about the one guy that he talked about how Why does it take me getting to 10 before she stops, or before your child stops? Why does it take you to get to 10 before your child stops doing something?
You've conditioned them.
Because you condition them that when you get to 10, or when you said it the 10th time, that's when they're supposed to stop. Or when you've gotten your voice to the 10th decibel, that's when they stop, because they know that's the breaking point. But if you teach them that the first time you say something in a calm manner, that's when they learn, okay, that when mommy or daddy says something one time, that's it. Or I lose a toy, or I go to, if you believe in timeout, I go to timeout. And I tell our daycare workers that all the time, that when I walk into school sometime and I'll hear one of them have raised their voice, and I'll say, we don't do that. I say, you're not doing anything. That child, you're making yourself feel better by raising your voice, but you're not doing anything for that child.
Right. And telling a child too many times not to do something, you're just conditioning them to wait until the 10th time versus just getting them in that habit. But I mean, that's honestly something I'm still working on. I'm still working on getting them to do things after I tell them one time. They still, I still give them probably too many opportunities to do what they need to do. So that is a work in progress for me.
How many times do we hear this in our house? How many times do we say this to them? This is the last time I'm going to tell you. And then we say it 4 or 5 more times.
Yeah, with the hopes that they do it. So sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So we're still working on it. But the times that we are successful with it, like if we have a day where all day, if they don't do it after the first time we say it, we have noticed a change in their behaviors.
Yes, definitely.
But we've got to be consistent.
Yeah, we didn't practice that. we know consistency is key with children. Again, I've realized it from having the daycare that that routine and consistency is so important in that setting, and in dealing with children is so important because you look at trying to manage a class of 10 3-year-olds, and I've seen teachers that do it really well, and I've seen teachers that don't do it well. And the one thing that I've seen that is the difference maker is consistency. When the children know every day that this teacher is going to expect me to do this, and this at this time, and when they say this, and it's consistent with it and doesn't change, they fall in line no matter who the child is. Now every now and then you have your challenging children, but for the most part, and then the other key with that is, even if you introduce a challenging child into that situation, the children that are used to their consistency will bring that child will either bring that child into the fold, or will push that child out of the fold, because they want the consistency. Now, the other difference is when you introduce a teacher that doesn't have consistent things, then it's just chaos every day. And it's not that the children want that per se, they just don't know what to do. So they don't know what to do with themselves. How many times have our child, when they're not doing something, or when we haven't given them something to do, they're, mommy, I'm bored. Mommy, daddy, can we do this? Yeah. Because they're looking for a routine.
Right. And also, one way that all of us as parents can relate to consistency and routine is with bedtime.
100%.
And for us, what we have found is having a bedtime routine every night, doing the same thing when we're preparing for bed. It helps them to wind down for bed.
Yes.
And it makes the transition to bedtime much easier. And we'll do an episode about the bedtime routine. But in terms of consistently doing the same thing every night, you will have your child in bed when you want them to be in bed. But again, you can't do it 2 or 3 nights a week. You've got to do the same thing every night, because they know, okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Okay, it's time for bed. And their body and their mind is just winding down and getting ready for bed. So we'll have that. We'll have a podcast specifically about the bedtime routine, but that does relate to consistency for all of us as parents.
Yeah, 100%. And consistency is hard. It's hard. You know how many times have you said, honey? And you will say honey, so I'm not putting on airs there. You do say honey. But how many times you said, okay, honey, it's time to take them up to bed, and I'm sitting there and I'm drained for the day, and I'm just not like, I do not feel like taking these kids up to bed.
Well, he says, I want to look at this one more IG reel. And then we can go to bed. Wait, no, two more. Hold on, two more. Then we can go to bed.
Yeah.
And I'm looking like, okay, it's time. We need to get these kids to bed. They getting a little wild, and when they get tired, they start moving around and doing all kinds of stuff. Yes. And that's like, okay, maybe we kept them up a little too long. So, yeah. But
so we're not perfect, as we said. We try to be consistent, but there are times. Usually, and I'm the one that I'm not consistent with getting them up there because I want to veg out a little bit longer before we go up and start the bedtime.
I'm the upholder and he's the obliger, so that should tell you.
I'm not always the obliger.
Just playing.
For those who couldn't see my eyes on that one, my eyes got big because I am not always the obliger.
No, he's not. I'm just giving him a hard time.
That's okay. I'll take
Hopefully won't take it out on me later.
No, it's all good. So, anything else you want to discuss, or feel like we can wrap it up?
I really feel like this is a good stopping point. I've really enjoyed this time with you all, and I hope that you've taken away something that you can apply to your life or relate it with us in some kind of way, as whether it be parents or the rapport that you have with your significant other. Yeah.
So she's gonna get mad at me on this. I'm gonna let you in a little bit behind the scenes. So we discussed a lot about how the first show was gonna go, and we have a kind of format how our shows are normally gonna go. We didn't follow that format for this show, primarily because I felt like I wanted you as the audience to get to know us first, get to know who we were, our background, just hear us kind of talk and see our relationship before we kind of get into a structured routine of how we're going to do the show. So again, I hope you enjoyed seeing who we are. This is who we are. This is who we are every day. We'll have guests that will come on and we'll interview and go over different topics. We will have I'll let my wife tell you one of her favorite things because she talks about it all the time. She's been putting on the spot. You know what I'm talking about that we're going to do?
Tips of the day?
Tips or hacks of the day. Yeah. So we're going to have tips. We're going to have hacks that we're going to show you. Hopefully we'll actually videotape. We'll actually do it on video, some of the hacks and so forth. So we have a lot of good stuff for you and so forth. Now, just as parenthood is, not all of our podcasts are going to be
for you, or
well, hopefully they'll be for most of them, but light and funny and laughing all the time. Like, for you, yes, I want them all to be for you, but if not,
some of our techniques. I mean, again, we're not experts. We're just sharing our own personal experiences. Some of the things that we do, you may like, and some of them you may not agree with.
100%. So as you're listening to our podcast, I hope you don't think that we're telling you how to parent or anything like that. That's never our goal. Our goal is to identify with you and go through this journey with you, and let you know that, again, you're not alone in this journey. We're all trying to do better. We're all trying to be the best parents that we can be for our children, and be good examples for our children. We hope that you will stay in contact with us as we go on this journey. You can follow me on IG at Mr._Team Brooks.
And also, I'm on IG as well. If you want to follow me, I am at Mrs. MRS_Team Brooks. And please feel free, if you'd like, to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah. I forgot we don't have it yet, but we will. I'm working on that.
By the time we have this up, we will.
By the time we have this up,
that's what we're saying.
That's when they're going to see this, right?
Yeah, so that's what we're saying it.
Yeah. She likes to give me a hard time. That's okay. You can find us on YouTube. You'll be able to find us on Facebook and IG. Hopefully, I've never done it before, but hopefully I will be able to figure out how to put that on the video, so you'll see it on the video links or in the description on YouTube, and follow us there. If you're listening on any of the podcast streaming services, it should be able to put it in the description as well there.
You can find it in our show notes.
There you go. See, she's done more research than I have. You'll be able to find it in the show notes for the podcast and so forth. So, Mrs. Brooks, anything else you want to give to our lovely listeners? Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, just in this journey of parenthood, just enjoy every moment. Even if I know that, some of you may work full time, you're away from your child all day, and you may feel like you're not spending enough time with your child, but just enjoy the time that you do have with them and make those moments count.
Yeah, live in the moment. That's one thing we're really trying to do. We've said it before. I've heard people say it all the time. I can't wait for the weekend, or I can't wait for this, or I can't wait for my child to be this age. Live in the moment, because once they're that age, you can't get it. Once they're the age of a certain age, you can't go back to a previous age. Or once that weekend's here, you've missed Monday through Friday, just to get to Saturday. So don't miss those moments to spend time with your children. It's very important, because trust me, they're looking for those moments with you. So you've got to know us. You found out about our podcast. You've seen what our podcast is going to be about. We've let you into a little insight into our life and the craziness, the fun times, and
we're so glad you came. So we hope you enjoyed our first podcast, and we're hoping that this will be first of many.
Yep, definitely. And so we will always leave you with this saying. We kind of live by this. We live our life by this.
We love you, but God loves you most of all. And